One Weibo story that Chinese net users are talking about is regarding the Pentagon's plan to send army teams to Africa. Now, according to the original post from Fox News, the U.S. Army Brigade will begin sending small teams into as many as 35 African nations early next year. Now, this is going to be part of an intensifying effort by the U.S. to train the countries to battle extremists and also to give the U.S. a ready and trained force to dispatch to Africa should crises arise. Now, this has caused some concern to Chinese internet users who were quick to point out that America seems to be stationing troops all over the world, and now even Africa will be within their control. Now, some internet commenters made a connection between America's military efforts in Africa and China's growing business interest on the continent, citing that perhaps America is doing this as a way to block off China's increasing influence and government dealings with African countries. Well, let's take a look at some comments from Chinese Weibo users.
America thinks the entire world is their backyard. This is as crazy as promoting gun ownership to defend against reckless gun users. I feel bad for countries that have to become military bases for other countries. How can they guarantee that the troops they train won't turn on their American trainers in the future? Wherever America goes, trouble follows.
America does have a lot of military bases abroad, that's for sure. And a recent map that depicts American military bases around Asia has been forwarded many times on Weibo. And on the map, it shows that America has air bases in South Korea. Two actually, one in Kunsan and one in Osan. There's also a U.S. air base in Singapore, the Paya Lebar Air Base. Another one in Kyrgyzstan, the Manas Air Base. 3 in Japan, one in Okinawa, one in Misawa, and one right in Tokyo. And of course, one in Guam, which is an unincorporated territory of the United States. With so many bases around the world, some Weibo commenters wondered if it's a little hypocritical of the U.S. to be critical of China's growing influence. Now, these commenters pointed out that at least China isn't stationing military units in other sovereign nations. Now, let's take a look at some of their comments.
Go ahead, station troops in all the countries. Let's see how long you can afford such a costly military. It's very costly to station troops in other countries. This will drag down the entire American military. A global battle of attrition, America's economy would be severely weakened. America is so far ahead of other countries. They should shoulder more responsibility. Even though part of their motive is probably in their own self-interest, increasing their military presence in Africa should have positive effects on the turbulent continent. I think it'll lead to less regional conflicts and massacres.
China has been investing pretty heavily in Africa, although not all of the results have been positive. Now, besides positive contributions, such as helping African nations build up their infrastructure, China also took part in large real estate projects. Now, one such project that was getting a lot of criticism from Chinese internet users was about a Chinese real estate project in Angola. That is a virtual ghost town. Now, for a country where 66% of the people live on less than $2 a day, Chinese internet users were wondering who will be able to afford homes that cost $120,000 to $200,000 US. And now, with America's increasing interest in Africa, many Weibo users are wondering if China should take similar steps and start negotiating for military bases in other countries as well.
China should start stationing troops abroad too. Our Liberation Army should be put to good use. This is not good for China. They are focusing on the Asia-Pacific, targeting Africa, pushing around Pakistan. These are all bad news for China. It seems wherever China invests, you'll find American soldiers. China has spent a lot of time and money in Africa over the years, but it looks like everything could be for nothing with the arrival of the Americans.
Now, even though China has spent a lot of time and effort building up relations in Africa, it will be difficult and there will be many hurdles that Chinese investors and enterprises must overcome, including cultural differences and geopolitical differences. Now, many Weibo users pointed out that Chinese enterprises will have to learn to look things from an African point of view if it wants to have a chance at competing with a superpower like the U.S.